Hello students, today we are going to start with new prose, that is The Modern Millionaire by Oscar Wilde. Let's start with a brief introduction about the writer first. Oscar Wilde was a versatile Irish writer of great wit and brilliance. He attended university in Dublin and in Oxford, proving himself to be an outstanding student. He was a very intelligent, or you can say bright student. After completing his education, Will tried his hand at various literary activities. He published poetry, went on lecture tours of America, and worked prolifically as a journalist, editor, and reviewer. In 1890, he began publishing short stories and wrote his only novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray. This brought him lasting recognition and still widely read today. Means he has published only one novel, he has written only one novel, that is The Picture of Dorian Gray. But still he became very famous because of it. Known for his biting wit, flamboyant dressing style and glittering conversations, Wilde was one of the most well-known personalities of his day. He soon moved on to writing plays and became one of the most successful playwrights of the late Victorian era, with a series of social satires which dealt with the social, you can say, evil prevailing in those days. His masterpiece being The Importance of Being Earnest in 1895. At the height of his fame and success, Wilde suffered a dramatic downfall in a sensational series of trials. He was imprisoned on charges of indecency and after his release lived as a penniless exile in France. Means though he was a successful writer, but after in his you can say later days of his life, he had gone through lot of you can say problems in his personal life. He was imprisoned on charges of indecency, and when he was released after imprisonment, he was penniless and he was living in France. He died destitute in Paris at the age of 46. His remains are interred in the famous Père Lachaise cemetery of Paris. Now, the extract which we are going to know today. Now, see what it is. We should not judge a book by its cover. Similarly, we should never form an opinion about somebody based on his or her outward appearance. Now, we all know this, you can say, well-known statement here, where it tells us that we should not judge a book by its cover. Here it has different meaning here. Mainly it tells you that we should not we should not form an opinion about someone based on his or her outward appearance, because appearances are deceptive. We never know what the actual, who that actual person is, what qualities that person might have. The main character of this story, Yui Exon, makes a judgment about someone based on looks and learns a valuable lesson. Now this extract is mainly about this particular, you can say, phrase only, where they tell you that we should not judge a book by its cover. The main character, the protagonist of the story, Yui Exon, does the same thing. He makes a judgment about a person based on his looks, and because of that, what happened, he learns a valuable lesson, and he learns a lesson later on that we should never form any opinion about someone based on his or her appearance. The man he took for a beggar turns out to be a millionaire. Means what a mistake he does here. The main, you can say, protagonist of the story, Yui Exon, what he does, he thinks the man whom he has seen is a beggar, but later on he comes to know that that man is not a beggar, but he is a millionaire. He is a model millionaire in more than one sense, and this person is a model millionaire. Model in this particular extract has two meanings. First, the model, you can say, the person who dresses up and who does fashion shows and all, and the other model here, you can say, an idol for someone here. So this person, this millionaire, whom the main character of the story thinks that he is a beggar, is actually a millionaire and he is a model millionaire, means he has done modeling here. He is actually being a model for an artist. You will come to know in the story later on. And he is model in other sense also, like you can say he is an inspiration for the main character, the Huey Ixon. The entire story you will come to know when we go through the extract. He is a large-hearted man and helps Huey marry his beloved when he learns of his problem. Now, whom the main character of the story thinks as he is a beggar, but actually we come to know here that he is a millionaire, and he is model in the sense for them because he is millionaire not only with money, he is not only rich with having money and all, but he is rich at heart. He is a very generous man, and when he comes to know that the main character of the story he is a penniless person and he is in love with someone, so he helps out this the main character of the story here. The story is a typical Virginian tale with a twist at the end, full of humor, irony and insight. Let's start with the story. See here. Unless one is wealthy, there is no use in being charming fellow. Means here the writer wants to tell us that even if you are very good looking and all, it doesn't matter if you don't have money here. Both good looks and money both goes hand in hand here. The writer wants to tell us. Romance is the privilege of the rich, not the profession of the unemployed. Means he is saying here, the person who is rich only has the privilege to romance. The girls will fall for the person who is very rich, who can look after them nicely, who will you can say give them more expensive gifts and all only. And so for that reason he is saying that it is not the profession of the unemployed. No girl would like to marry or be in love with a person who is penniless. The poor should be practical and prosaic. Here the writer tells us that the poor man should not be live in the fanciful world, not to think about, dream about a good looking girl and all. He should live a practical life, he should work hard, and he should be prosaic. Prosaic means what? He should not have fanciful ideas in his mind here. He should be very, you can say he cannot be very interesting and all. He should only be practical and work hard. It is better to have a permanent income than to be fascinating. Means he's saying it is better to earn something, to have a permanent income than to just be fascinating thing, or just try to give false you can say false thing to the girl, tell her that I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you. Instead of that, you should have money in your hand, then only girls will fall for you. These are the great truths of modern life which Huey Erskine never realized. And whatever the truths are told by the writer here are, you can say, great truths of modern life which the main character, the Huey Erskine, he never realized. Poor Huey, intellectually, we must admit, he was not of much importance. Means this person, this main character of the story, he is not a well-known or you can say well-to-do man here. He never said a brilliant or not even an ill-natured thing in his life. Means he has not done you can say anything good in his life, or not, he has not even harmed anyone's feeling, or he had not spoken anything ill for anyone. But then he was wonderfully good looking with his crisp brown hair, his clear cut profile, his grey eyes. Means the appearance of the main character sorry, Huey is given here that he is good looking man, he is a very handsome man with crisp brown hair, his clear cut profile and his grey eyes. He was as popular with men as he was with women, and he had every accomplishment except that of making money. Means he was because of his good looks, everyone liked him, not only women, men also used to admire him for his you can say good looks here. And he had every accomplishment. It means if God had gifted him with everything except that of money. His father had bequeathed him his cavalry sword and a history of the Peninsular War in 50 volumes. and he has not got anything from his father. Only were two things he had got from his father. One was the cavalry sword and the other was you can say 15 books of history of Peninsular War. This only two things he had got from his father. He had not inherited anything from his father. No money, no you can say bungalows, housing, anything, nothing like that. Only two things, that is one sword and 15 books of history of Peninsular War he had got from his father. Yui hung the first over his looking glass, put the second on the shelf between Ruff's Guide and Bailey's magazine. Means he, and what did he do with two things which he was inherited from his father? So first thing, the sword he had hung over his looking glass, and the second on the he had all the volumes of the history of Peninsular War. He had just put it on the shelf here between the Ruff's Guide and Bailey's magazine. They were the you can say famous magazine of those days, and lived on 200 a year that an old aunt allowed him. And what anything he inherited from anyone was only what 200 a year which he used to get from his old aunt. So only three things. One is what you can say the sword, the second 15 books on history of Peninsular War, and the third thing which he got from his ancestor was what 200 a year from his old aunt, and nothing else he had in his life. He had tried everything, means he had tried all his luck in his life here. He had gone on to stocks, he had gone on the stock exchange for 6 months, means he had tried his luck in stock exchange. He has worked there for 6 months. But what was a butterfly to do among bulls and bears? Means he was not very, you can say, smart fellow, or you can say he was not very clever or tricky man, you can say. In the stock exchange, everyone should be very tricky, should have presence of mind and all. But this boy, the main character of the story, Yui, he was a normal boy, very soft at heart, and also he cannot survive. He was not able to survive in the stock exchange. He had been a tea merchant for a little longer, and after that he tried his luck in the tea merchant. He became a tea merchant, but had soon tired of Pekoe and Sauchung. Means, but he was not able to work there also nicely here in the tea shop here. The Pekoe and Sauchung are the two famous teas. Then he had tried selling dry sherries. Then after that he tried his luck in you can say selling dry sherries. Dry sherries you can say are used to extract, you can say, juice from the sherries here. That did not answer, means in that also he was not successful. The sherry was too dry. Here this word dry has two meaning. One is what? From which we can extract the thing, and the other two, here too dry means what? It was not profitable for him, means he was not successful in this also. Ultimately he became nothing, a delightful, ineffectual young man with a perfect profile and no profession. So finally what happened? He became nothing. He was no one, he had no, you can say, professionally he was no one in the world here. Here he was only a delightful, means a happy-going man, ineffectual young man, and he had a perfect profile. His academic qualification was good, but he had no, you can say, job in his hand. To make matters worse, he was in love. The girl he loved was Laura Merton, the daughter of a retired colonel who had lost his temper and his digestion in India. He had never found either of them again. Laura adored him, and he was ready to kiss her shoestrings. They were the handsomest couple in London. Means this, the main character of the story here, he was in love with a girl named Laura Merton, who was daughter of retired colonel, who had, you can say, lost his temper and his digestion. He was an old man suffering with lot of things here in his life. And this, but still this girl, Laura, he really, though she knew that this man, the main character of the story, he is not rich, Yui is not rich, he has no money with him, but still she loved him a lot, and this you can say the main character Yui also was ready to do anything for her. See, he was ready to kiss her shoestrings, means what? He was ready to do anything for her. They were the handsomest couple in London. They both were very good looking and had not a penny piece between them. Means they both didn't had anything. She also didn't belong to a rich family and he was also penniless. The colonel was very fond of Yui. Means colonel also liked Yui because of his nature, because of his good looks and all. But would not hear of any engagement. But he was not ready to marry his daughter to him because he was jobless. Come to me, my boy, when you have got 10,000 pounds of your own, and we will see about it. Once you can say Yui had gone to ask Colonel for his daughter, and that time Colonel replied that when you have got 10,000 pounds, then only you come to me and I'll think about marrying my daughter to you. He used to say, and Yui looked with glum in those days, means he used to become very sad and had to go to Laura for consolation. But still, Laura used to console him that don't worry, things will turn out good and all, everything. One morning, he was on his way to Holland Park, where the Mertons lived. He dropped in to see a great friend of his, Alan Trevor. Trevor was a painter. Means one morning as he was going to Holland Park, there he had gone to see one of his good friend named Alan Trevor. And Trevor was a painter. Indeed, few people escape that nowadays. But he was also an artist. And artists are rather rare. Means in those days, many people didn't used to, you can say, turn out to this profession. They didn't want to become artists and all. But still, this person, Trevor, he was a good artist here. Personally, he was a strange, rough fellow with a freckled face and rare ragged beard. Means he was not, you can say, good looking like the main character Yui here. He had a freckled face, rough face and red ragged beard. However, when he took up the brush, he was real master. But though he didn't had good looks, he was really good in, you can say, painting here. He really had that skill in his hand. And his pictures were eagerly sought after. Means people used to look or people used to buy his paintings here. He had been very much attracted by Yui's at first. It must be acknowledged entirely on account of his personal charm. Means this painter Trevor used to really like, he was really attracted by Yui. It is we all know mainly because of his good looks, personal charm, and he was also a good nature person. The only people a painter should know, he used to say, are people who are better and beautiful, people who are an artistic pleasure to look at, an intellectual repose to talk to. Means he used to say the only people the painter should know. The painter, they know only few things. Who they, they are people who are better and beautiful. Means you can say the beautiful women's, you can say, and men's, you can say people who are an artistic pleasure, whom they can paint out and the paintings will sell good. At an intellectual repose to talk, men who are dandies and women who are darlings rule the world. Means men who are dandies here, you can say, who are very straight here and who are very, you can say, strict while talking and all. People like those kind of men, and women who are very, you can say, soft in speaking, soft spoken, delicate and all. So people like all those men and women. However, after he got to know Yui better, he liked him quite as much for his bright, buoyant spirit and his generous, reckless nature, and had given him the permanent entry to his studio. But this man, the main character Yui, he was different. Though he had good look, he was not having anything in his hand. He was not rich. He was only had good looks, but still he was very bright. He was buoyant spirit. He was very generous. He had a sympathy for others, and he was really good at heart. So all this, you can say, good qualities of the main character Yui attracted Trevor, and because of that he had given him permanent entry to his studio. When Yui came in, he found Trevor putting the finishing touches to a wonderful life-size picture of a beggar man. When Yui entered Trevor's studio, he saw that Trevor was painting and he was giving final touches to his wonderful life-size picture of a beggar man. The beggar himself was standing on a raised platform in a corner of the studio, and the beggar was also standing at the opposite side where the you can say Trevor was painting in a corner of the studio. He was a wizened old man, means he was very old man, and we all know wizened old man means what he looked. He was a wise person with a face like wrinkled parchment, means his face was wrinkled because of his old age, and a most piteous expression, and his expression will look very pretty expression, means what anyone will feel sympathy when he looks at him, the beggar. Over his shoulder was flung a coarse brown cloak and all tears and tatters, means over his shoulder they flung a coarse brown cloak, you can say cloth, like they say sweater he was, you can say he must be wearing, all tears and tatters over him. His thick boots were patched, means the boots were also old ones, so they were patched and cobbled, and with one hand he leant on a rough stick, and in one hand he had a stick on which he was standing with a support of the stick, while with the other he held out his battered hat of arms, means in other hand he had his hat which he had turned, and he was asking people to put arms in it. What an amazing model, whispered Yui as he shook hands with his friend. When Yui entered the studio, he said, what an amazing model, really good you can say expression of beggar this model is giving. And while saying this, he shook hands with his friend. An amazing model, shouted Trevor at the top of his voice. Means he is saying, yeah, really, he is really an amazing model. I should think so. Such beggars as he are not to be met with every day. Means he is saying such beggars we cannot see in our day-to-day life. A travel monsieur, a living Velasquez, my stars, what an etching Rembrandt would have made of him. Means here all this expression tell you that he is really a living example of a beggar. No one would feel that this person is a model and he has worn the attire of the beggar and he is standing in front of the painter. Everyone will say that he is really a beggar only. Poor old chap, said Yui. How miserable he looks. But I suppose to you painters, his face is his fortune. Means he's saying this person looks really poor here. Really, Yui feels very bad for him. How miserable he looks here. Means how sad he's looking, his condition. But I suppose to you painters, his face is his fortune. Means he's saying for you, his face is fortune. Means it tells his future here that he is really a beggar here and he really lives a miserable life. Certainly, replied Trevor, you don't want a beggar to look happy, do you? Means he's saying, certainly I really want this kind of expression only from a beggar. I cannot paint a beggar with happy expressions here. No one will like the painting. How much does a model get for sitting? Asked Yui. As he found himself a comfortable seat on a divan. Means he was sitting there. First he sat, and while sitting he asked his friend Trevor that how much does a model get for sitting. Means how much do you pay him for sitting here? A shilling an hour. Means for I give him a shilling for an hour. And how much do you get for your picture, Alan? And he asked, and how much do you get? Oh, for this I'll get 2,000 pounds. Guineas. Painter, poets and physicians always get guineas. Here he is saying that really you get a really good amount here. Well, I think the model should have a percentage, cried Yui, laughing. They work quite as hard as you do. Means he's saying you are paying just 1 shilling to the person who is giving you such a nice expression here. You must give him, the person, give him some share of whatever you profit you earn from this painting, because this person has also worked as hard as you. Because if he doesn't give such a nice expression, your paintings won't sell for such a big amount, huge amount you can say. Nonsense, nonsense. Why? Look at the trouble of laying on the paint alone. He's saying, what are you saying? This is really utterly nonsense here. See what trouble, how much hard work I have to do to bring those expression on the, with the help of paint here. And standing all day long at one easel, means just standing and painting this or this expression here. It's all very well, means whatever I am earning from the painting is worth here. UE for you to talk, but I assure you that there are moments when art almost attains to the dignity of the manual labor, but you mustn't chatter. I am very busy. Smoke a cigarette and keep quiet. He is saying here, UE, for you to talk, he wants to tell here that art almost attains the dignity of manual labor here. Means here whatever the artist is earning is worth, because he has to really work hard here to bring those expressions on the paper here. So, and he's saying, I am very busy, don't speak any nonsense anymore, just smoke a cigarette and keep quiet here. After some time, the servant came in and told Trevor that frame maker wanted to speak to him. Someone, a frame maker came to speak to Trevor, so the servant came in to inform him. Don't run away, Huey, he said as he went out. I'll be back in a moment. So Trevor tells Huey that don't go away, I'll be back in a moment. The old beggar man took advantage of Trevor's absence to rest for a moment on a wooden bench that was behind him. Now this old beggar man, he was standing for a long time, so he was very tired. So when Trevor went out to speak to the frame maker, this old man, he took some, you can say, advantage of this time, and he wanted to rest, or he wanted to sit on the wooden bench there behind him. He looked forlorn and wretched that Huey could not help pitying him. Means he was looking very tired and he was looking very wretched here, sad here. And this Huey, the main character, he was really feeling bad for him and felt in his pocket to see what money he had. He really felt bad for this poor old man, and for this thing he just tried to look for something if he had in his pocket to give this poor man. All he could find was a sovereign and some coppers. Poor old fellow, he thought to himself, he wants it more than I do. Means he just found, you can say, some coppers here, some coins here, and he really felt that this poor fellow, he really needs more than. We all know the condition of Huey, that he was also not very rich man. He was also he also has to do lot of things to survive. Here he was jobless, but still when he saw this poor man, he really felt bad for him, and he really felt that he needs more this money, whatever he had in his pocket, more than him. So he really felt that he should give this poor man that money. He wants it more than I do. But it means no handsomes for a fortnight. Means he is saying, but if I give these coppers, if I give these coins to him, I will be penniless. I won't have anything here with me, left anything with me. He walked across the studio and slipped a sovereign into beggar's hand, and he gave those coins to the beggar, the poor old man. The old man started, and a faint smile flitted across his withered lips. Thank you, sir, he said. Thank you. Means when Huey gave him those coins, the old man, what happened? He got smile on his face, and he said thank you to Huey. Then Trevor arrived. Then after that, meanwhile, what happened? Trevor arrived. Huey took his leave, blushing a little at what he did. Means though he was penniless, but he really felt that he was at least able, or he was capable to help someone who got some smile on that tired face, the old man's face. So he was blushing a little for whatever he has done. He spent the day with Laura and got a charming scolding for his extravagance and had to walk home. Means he spent the little with Laura, means he spent the, you can say the rest of the day with Laura. He got a charming scolding, means when he must have told that whatever had happened, he must have told to Laura, and Laura must have scolded him that why you did, why you just gave whatever you had to that old man, and had to walk home as he was penniless, so he had to walk home. That night, he strolled into the Palette Club at about 11 o'clock and found Trevor sitting by himself in the smoking room, drinking hock and seltzer. Means that night when he was walking there near the Palette Club, here at 11 o'clock, he found his friend Trevor. He was sitting there in that club in the smoking room, drinking hock and seltzer. Well, Alan, did you get the picture finished all right? He went to his friend and he was having conversation with his friend, and he's saying, Alan means Trevor. He's saying, did you get the picture finished? Is your painting done? He said as he lit his cigarette. He was also smoking here. Finished and framed, my boy, answered Trevor. He's saying, yes, almost everything is done, finished and framed. Everything is done. And by the by, you have made a conquest. That old model you saw is quite devoted to you. Means he's saying you have one more fan of yours, because the old model whom you saw in my studio is fan of yours now. He's saying fan of you. I had to tell him about you. Means he was really eager to know about you. So I had to tell him, that old man, about you. Who are you? Where you live? What your income is, and what prospects you have. Means he wanted to know this. That old man wanted to know everything about you, Huey. Trevor told. My dear Alan, cried Huey, I shall probably find him waiting for me when I go home. He's saying, my dear Alan, why did you tell everything about me now? I have helped him. That's why he must have become crazy for me. That again I might help him. But you know my condition. I won't be able to help him anymore. And now you have told everything about me. I am really scared that he might be standing in front of my house now. But of course you are only joking. Means he's saying, don't tell me that you have really told everything about me to that old man. Poor old wretch. I wish I could do something for him. Means he said, but at my heart I really feel bad for this old man. I really feel that I should be able to do something for this man. I think it is dreadful that anyone should be so miserable. Means he's saying, I really feel very sad when I come to know that so many people in the life, they are suffering here. I have got heaps of old clothes at home. Do you think he would care of any of them? Why his rags were falling to bits? Means saying, I have some old clothes. Do you think he will wear if I give it to him? But he looks splendid in them, said Trevor. Means he's saying, but whatever he was wearing that day, he looked very good in those clothes there. I wouldn't paint him in the frock coat for anything. Means he's saying, I would not paint him for the frock coat here. In whatever he was wearing that day, the clothing here, in that only I would like to paint him. What you call rags, I call romance. Means whatever you are saying, the old clothes here, you are calling it old clothes, but I call it romance. For a painter, it is his romance. He finds it very artistic. What seems poverty to you is a picture sickness to me. Means he's saying you feel that he is very poor, you feel bad for him. But for an artist, I really like to bring those expressions on the paper here. However, I'll tell him of your offer. Means he's saying, but don't worry, I'll tell him that you want to offer him your old clothes. Alan said, you be seriously, your painters are heartless a lot. Means he's saying you painters are really heartless. You really want to make money from those expressions. You don't have any sympathy for them. An artist's heart is his head, replied Trevor. And besides, our business is to realize the world as we see it and not to reform it as we know it. Means he's saying for an artist's heart is his head. Means our heart is in our head, he wants to tell us. And besides that, our business is to realize the world as we see. Means to bring it on paper as we see it and not to reform it as we know it. Kyachun sir met her and now tell me how Laura is. Means saying, okay, forget that and now tell me how is your girlfriend. Means how is Laura. The old model was quite interested in her. He's saying the old model also wanted to, the old man also wanted to know about her. You don't mean to say you talked to him about her? Said Hughie. Hughie saying you told him about her also? Certainly I did. He knows all about the relentless colonel, the lovely Laura and the 10,000 pounds. Means he's saying I told him everything about you, that you love a girl named Laura, her father who is not ready to marry his daughter to you because you are jobless, and he is saying that if you have got 10,000 pounds then only he will marry Laura to you. Everything I have told him. You told that old beggar all my private affairs, cried Hughie, looking very red and angry. He became very angry at his friend Trevor. My dear boy, said Trevor smiling, the old beggar as you call him is one of the richest men in Europe. He could buy all London tomorrow without overdrawing his account. He has a house in every capital, dines off gold plate and can prevent Russia going to war when he chooses. Means the person whom you are referring as an old man, he is the richest man in Europe. To his surprise, here there is twist in the story. Throughout the story, we come to know the person whom Trevor was painting was an old man. But suddenly what happened? Here, you can say Trevor reveals to Hughie that the man he was painting, he was not actually the, you can say, poor man, or you can say a beggar, but he is the richest man in Europe here. What on earth do you mean? Means he's saying, really whatever you're saying is a fact? What I say, said Trevor, the old man you saw today in my studio, in the studio was Baron Hausberg. He's saying whatever I am saying is 100% truth, and the man whom you saw me painting is no one but Baron Hausberg. He is a great friend of mine, and this richest man, this man, he is my friend, means he is Trevor's friend. Buys all my pictures and that sort of thing, and gave me a commission a month ago to paint him as a beggar. And he really likes my painting. He buys all my paintings, and he has given me a commission a month ago only to paint him as a beggar. Que was La Fantis d'un milliner. And I must say he made a magnificent figure in his rags, or perhaps I should say in my rags. They are an old suit I got in Spain. Means here they say that I must say that he made a magnificent, he really you can say owned the clothes which he has bought from Spain as a beggar. And he really wore those clothes and really portrayed the figure of a beggar very truly in front of me. Baron Hausberg, cried Hughie. He is really still not able to believe that the beggar whom he was referring as a beggar is Baron Hausberg. God heavens, I gave him a sovereign. He is saying, such a rich man, and I gave him a sovereign, I gave him a coin. And he sank into an armchair, the picture of dismay. Means he just sat there and he couldn't believe that he has done such a silly thing. Such a rich man, and I have given him a coin. He was feeling really ashamed, or he was feeling very guilty for his act here now. Gave him a sovereign, shouted Trevor, and he burst into a roar of laughter, and his friend Trevor was laughing at Hughie. My dear boy, you'll never see it again. He's saying here that, my dear boy, you will never see it again. You will never see this man again here. I think you might have told me, Alan, said Hughie sulkily, and not have let me make such a fool of myself. Means he's saying, you must have told me earlier only when I came to the studio that he is not a beggar, but he is, you can say, Baron Hausberg. I would have not done such a foolish thing. Well, to begin with, Hughie, said Trevor, it never entered my mind that you went about distributing arms in that reckless way. Means I would have come to know that you would go and give him arms. I would have told you. I can understand you're kissing a pretty model, but you're giving a sovereign to an ugly one. By Joe, no. He's saying, I understand if you see a pretty model, you can kiss her. But if you see an ugly one, you just give him the arms, you give him the coins. The fact is that I really was not at home today to anyone, and when you came in, I didn't know whether Hausberg would like his name mentioned. You know he wasn't in full dress here. Means he's saying, I really want to say here that when you came, I was not at home. That moment only I had arrived, and that time he was also not in his full dress. What a duffer he must think me. He's saying he must really feel that I am really a foolish, or you can say I am really a duffer. I am not able to recognize person here. Not at all. He was in the highest spirits after you left. Means saying don't feel so bad. He was not at all in a bad mood. He was not at all laughing at you when you went. He was in the high spirits. Means what, he had really good you can say thoughts for you. He was really feeling good for you. Kept kept chuckling to himself and rubbing his old wrinkled hands together. Means he was smiling here when you left, and he was rubbing his old wrinkled hands together. I couldn't make out why he was so interested to know all about you. Means first I didn't know why he was so interested to know everything about you. But I see it all now. But now I've come to know why he wanted to know about you. He'll invest your sovereign for you. Means whatever you have, that money the coin which you have given to him, he will now invest that coin because he is a good businessman. You will pay you the interest every 6 months and have a capital story to tell after dinner. Means here is saying you will get interest for that money which you have given him, because he is going to invest that money now, and you will get interest for that money every 6 months. So you have a capital story now to tell after dinner. I am an unlucky devil, growled Hughie. He said, don't tell me anything. I am really an unlucky person. The best thing I can do is to go to bed. I should not dream anything now. I will go to bed now. And my dear Alan, you mustn't tell anyone. And please don't go and tell this story to anyone. I shouldn't dare to show my face in the room. Means if you tell it to anyone, everyone will laugh at me and I will not be able to show my face to anyone. Nonsense. It reflects the highest credit on your philanthropic spirit, Hughie. Meaning don't speak rubbish. It really shows that you are a good person. Though you are jobless, though you had a little with you, but still you felt sympathy for that old man, and whatever you had, you offered it to him. And don't run away. Have another cigarette, and you can talk about Laura as much as you like. He's saying don't go away, don't feel bad now. You can have one more cigarette and speak about your girlfriend to me. However, Hughie wouldn't stop but walked home. But he was not at all able to stop there. He was feeling very guilty and he just walked home, feeling very unhappy and leaving Alan Trevor in the fits of laughter. The next morning, as he was at the breakfast, the servant brought him up a card on which was written, Monsieur Gustave Nordin, de la part DM Baron Hausberg. Means he had got one letter from Baron Hausberg. I suppose he has come for an apology, said Hughie. Means when he saw a letter from Baron Hausberg, he felt that this letter must be for an apology. Means he wanted me to go and apologize to him for whatever foolishness I have done. And he told the servant to show the visitor up. Means whoever had brought the letter, he asked the servant to tell that man to come and meet me. An old gentleman with gold spectacles and grey hair came into the room and said in a slight French accent, have I the honor of addressing Monsieur Exon? Here it is, you can say plural form of Mr. Here you say in the French language, instead of Mr. they say Monsieur here. He's saying that can I have the honor to address to Mr. Ixon, that old man who brought the letter. He's saying. Yui bowed, means he just bowed down in respect, and he said, I have come from Baron Hausberg. He continued, that old man said, the Baron. I beg, sir, that you will offer him my sincere apologies, stammered Yui. And Yui saying, please tell, sir, that I am really sorry for whatever foolishness I have done. The Baron said, the old gentleman with a smile, has commissioned me to bring you this letter. Means he is saying, Baron Hausberg has given me the, you can say, work to give you this letter, to drop this letter to you. And he just extended a sealed envelope to Yui. On the outside was written, a wedding present to Yui Ixon and Laura Marston from an old beggar, and inside was a check of 10,000 pounds. See how what that old beggar did, what you can say Baron Hausberg had done. He had given a wedding present to Yui Ixon and Laura Marston. On that envelope only it was written here, and it was 10,000 pounds. As you all remember, it was the demand of Laura's father that if Yui has 10,000 pounds, then only he will marry his daughter to Yui. When they were married, Alan Trevor was the best man, and now when Yui got 10,000 pounds, so now he had gone to Colonel. Now the Laura and Yui both are getting married, and that time his friend Trevor, means the painter, was the best man, and Baron made a speech. Now Baron was also invited for the wedding, and he made a speech in you can say Yui's wedding at the wedding breakfast, and see what he said. Millionaire models, remarked Allen, are rare enough. Means what he's saying, the painter is saying, millionaire models here are rare enough. You will not find a rich man becoming a model for a painter here. But by Jove, model millionaire are rarer still. Means he's saying, but model millionaire means what? The millionaire who can be an inspiration, who can be so generous, are rarer still. We cannot find such a person who is rich but still kind at heart, who really likes to help here. Here in the story we come to know he was really touched by the affection of the main character Yui here, that though he is jobless, though he didn't have money with him, but still when he saw the expressions of that old beggar, he really was felt sympathy for the beggar, and he offered him that coin which he had, and he became penniless. This act of Yui really touched the millionaire, touched Baron Hausberg, and he really felt that he should repay to him in the way by helping him out to get married to Laura with the condition whatever Laura's father had given. I hope you have understood the extract. Go through the video lecture again and try to understand it more nicely, and you can say the question answers which are given below the extract, try to solve it. Thank you.